I said this to you guys that were at media yesterday, and maybe you've done some research, maybe you haven't, but I think if you do research on Power 5 teams throughout the history of college basketball, if you research teams that have lost 8 games in a row, that would be a very small number. And then whatever the number of those teams are, do research on what transpired after the 8-game loss. And I don't know it for sure because I haven't had time and I didn't want to take away attention from what we had to do, but I do think that what transpired over the last 3 weeks is historical. We started 4-0, that took 2 weeks. We lost 8 in a row, that took 4 weeks. That's 12 games. There's only 6 games left, which is 3 weeks in SEC play. And to close down and win 4 in a row with the middle 2 on the road, to go from first place after 2 weeks to 12th place 6 weeks later, and then to finish tied for 5th, speaks to the character and the fabric of who our guys are. I think it speaks to the resilience and the relationships that they have amongst one another and with our staff. Incredibly thankful for who they are and the lessons that I learned from watching them throughout all that I just mentioned.
Do you feel like this game was kind of a microcosm of that season then? Got off to a good start, kind of hit a...
I think what's hard to articulate, Owen, is if you start 15-2 and 4-0 and you were picked to finish 12th, you're real excited. Maybe not deservingly, but you're real excited. And then when you lose 8 in a row and everybody is saying all the things that were being said, I think that emotionally just whips you. And I think to then respond over the last 3 weeks the way that we did and win 5 out of 6, I knew this was coming. I told the staff this yesterday when we met, and it transpired during practice, and I told the team in a unique practice setting that we were going to use this as a rep for what was coming tomorrow. And that's exactly what happened. We started great, and then we hit a lull in the second half, and I don't think that it's physical. I actually don't think that it's mental. Our guys have been really sharp relative to their IQ. But you're just, hey, win 4 in a row. Hey, lose 8 in a row. Hey, win 3 in a row. Win 3 out of your last 4. And the roller coaster of what that does to you. And then you got to go to the well one more time. And you begin to think, it's just human nature, oh man, we just wanted Alabama, and the game before that we just wanted Ole Miss, like we're coming home. And then you begin to think, oh, well, you know, it's senior day and it's Q, and Mississippi State doesn't make any threes, and you begin to like start trying to justify that what has allowed you to get to this point, you won't have to bring that same level, but actually you're going to have to bring more. And that's what the kids were saying during the huddles. Coach, it's exactly what you said yesterday. Yeah, yes, 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 so we have to change it now. And if we would have played this game, Olin, during the 4-game winning streak, we would have lost. But what we learned in the 8-game losing streak is what led to this win.
Yeah, y'all made several key plays down there in the last 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So you're saying that maybe earlier in the season y'all don't make those plays at that time?
Well, we don't understand the value of a possession. We don't necessarily have the IQ required. We don't understand time, score, and momentum. Part of that is just the experience. Part of that is we had one player at senior day. So there's been a lot of growth in our program, not just collectively, but also individually. So I think they completely understand what's at stake, but also the solution of how to execute what's required.
Was there ever a time that you would sense when things got into crunch time and they were close, that your guys were, I don't know if panic's the right word, but were nervous that?
No.
So even then, not?
No, but that's my point. That's why we would have lost this game during the 4-game winning streak, because we hadn't absorbed and endured all that took place in the month when we didn't win a game, right? I thought they had great poise and didn't panic at all. There was zero negative body language, zero negative tone of voice from me or anybody else. They understood.
And if you'll just talk about, in your opinion, how close was the call on Henry when they gave in, when they looked at the replay to make sure that he was fouled before the shot clock violation? And in your opinion, was that a big, how important or not was that in the game? Like 26.9 seconds left. And at first,
say it all again?
Okay, there's about 26.9 seconds left, and Henry, it looks like it's going to be a shot clock violation on y'all. But then they go back, remember, and they looked and saw that there was still time on the clock. I think less than a second when Henry got fouled, and then he hits 2 free throws. So I guess what I'm asking you is, first of all,
You're saying that was 26 seconds left to go in the game?
Yeah.
26.9 seconds.
It was the right call.
And,
Right?
Right, it was. I'm not arguing, but I'm asking you if you recognize that was going to be the right call immediately, and how big was it in your opinion?
We threw the ball to Henry, or Henry got an offensive rebound?
I believe that it was a
But it was off an offensive rebound.
I think.
Yeah, because he was down by the baseline, and then he tried to go back up, and then that's when the guy hit him on the top when he was going back up.
Because obviously, if you don't get the call, which was the right call, it's a 3-point game and they have the ball with a chance to tie. Instead, Henry goes up and hits a couple free throws.
To make it 5.
Yeah.
Right call. Thankful. I try not to talk about officials.
Anything else?
Another big game from Q tonight. You guys honored him for senior night. What's he really meant for you guys the last 3 years?
Yeah, I think the evolution of Q as a person and as a player have been on the same trajectory over the last 3 years. And it's for sure, if it was a stock, it would be a stock that if you would have bought in year 1, it's at its highest point now. And I absolutely adore his spirit. I'm thankful for his loyalty and will be the rest of my life. I'm thankful for his parents' trust in how we go about things. He had committed at Virginia Tech and followed us here, which speaks to loyalty and trust. And then to go through all that transpired last year, 367 days ago, we played Mississippi State here after a 41-day pause. And 60 days later, Q graduated, which in and of itself, he was a non-qualifier out of high school who went to prep school in his 5th year and didn't qualify in his 5th year of prep school to then go to junior college. And it's just grown so much, and he has become so important and matured so much that over the last month, the results have shown it. But what wasn't shown is that in the 8-game losing streak, the strength and courage of who he is what allowed our guys to continue, despite the struggle, to continue to fight. And I think that's why he's respected at such a high level within our program not because he's a good player, but he was the example of who to follow. The last 3 weeks, what we've done defensively is because of the newfound commitment he has made defensively within how we play. It's almost like he became player coach relative to defense. And that's what's changed our team. Like, he's saying all of the things that he's been knowing, but not only is he saying them, he's doing them. And I think that that's, his legacy will live on here because of what took place over the last 7 weeks. The impact he's had on Ford, the impact he's had on Mo. Those guys have an example to follow of when things are not going good. But then they also have an example to follow of when things are not going good, how do you change it? And yeah, I'll be his biggest cheerleader the rest of his life. And very thankful and very sad.
You knew he could jump out of the gym, I assume, when you recruited him out of the college of Central Florida, but how nice and pleasant. Were you surprised him maybe as his shooting then this year in terms of coupling with those spectacular dunks?
Yeah, the whoever those guys are that called the game tonight, they asked me about that today in postgame. And nobody's ever asked, and I've never told Q's story of how I recruited him, but it would have been 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I was invited to coach with USA Basketball when Coach Donovan was the head coach. And every year for training camp for USA Basketball, they bring ask, whatever the word is, one junior college coach to be a part of that weekend's training camp. And Coach Orr was my junior college coach. I'm the only Power 5 head coach in the last 15 years that attended a junior college. So I don't like to talk about me, but I take great pride in junior college. In my 15 years as a head coach, I've always had a minimum of one junior college player on our team. Our second Sweet 16 team started 4 junior college players. That had never happened in the history of the NCAA tournament. So 6 years ago, I'm a part of USA Basketball, as is his junior college coach. 3 years later, his junior college coach calls me and says, "Hey, I got a kid that I think you ought to recruit." I said, "Well, Coach, are you sure?" "Yes, I'm sure." "Well, Coach, if you were in my spot, and you're more deserving of being in my spot, and I was in your spot, which is what the spot I thought I was always going to have as a kid, would you sign him?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Okay, well then here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to come down there and visit with him." And he goes, "Well, you know the game and this and that." I go, No. You said that if you were in my chair, that's what you would do. So I'm trusting you on that. But I do want to get to know the kid." So I flew down there, and he had a room like this, and I visited with Q. And I started going every 10 or 12 days, and we'd do the same thing. And so Devin Johnson, who's been with me 11 years now, that was his first year as a full-time assistant that could recruit. So Devin was with me 7 years in a non-recruiting position. And Devin was in the NBA for 5 years. He's the best player evaluator I've ever known, period. And he's the best skill instruction guy I've ever known. So I've been to see Q 3 or 4 times. And he goes, "Hey, Coach, you keep going to Florida. What do you think about that kid?" I go, "I love him." And he's like, "Well, are we going to sign him?" And I go, "Well, if he wants to come, we can sign him." And he's like, "Well, can he play?" And I go, "I don't know." And he goes, "Well, don't you think we ought to know?" Yeah, we had, in my opinion, we had somewhat changed the trajectory of the program at Virginia Tech by that moment in time. We had been to back-to-back NCAA tournaments. That hadn't happened in 33 years. We're going into year 5, which ended up being the Sweet 16 year. And that was the class that we were talking about. And I said, "I don't know." And he's like, "Well, Coach, when you've been going down there, you hadn't been watching them practice?" And I'm like, "No, I just go in the room and talk to the kid, and then I come home." I said, "You go down there and watch him." So Devin went down there and watched practice, etc. and came back, and I said, what'd you think? He goes, yeah, coach, he's this, 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 and this. And I go, well, is he good enough? He goes, yeah. I said, okay, well, then let's sign him if he wants to come. So, obviously, we were planning on signing him. We signed him here. And Devin is the best I have ever seen on player development. Like, he has notes, like a practice plan on every individual workout he's done since he's been with us. And how he goes about building a relationship with those kids is the best I've ever seen from an assistant coach. And like, if you remember Q's game in year number 1, and you look at Q's game now, it's just a complete metamorphosis. Yes, he's still fast and athletic and all of those things, but like, his game is completely different. And how you have to defend his game now versus what the scouting report of the opponent said about him in year 1. And it's just been Q's work ethic, Q's relationship with Devin, Devin's skill in skill development, and then just doing it over and over, just the cumulative effect. Like, to some degree, I think Q's extra year of eligibility relative to COVID, he may have benefited the most from that among a lot of players that are in that position. And that, you know, like, I know you know this, but when they said last year you get an extra year of eligibility, everybody was thinking it was for the seniors. Yeah, no, it's for every student athlete in college, regardless of year. And so, like, that's why there's multiple schools that are not even doing senior day anymore, because nobody knows, like, Brent, are you coming back next year? Or what grade are you in? Nobody knows. The fans don't know what number, what grade. There were 4 teams that we played this year. As a part of my preparation, there's like a kind of a routine that I do in researching. And one of it is, you know, like old school, like before the internet and before all this stuff, you know, there would be a game program and it would have the number, the name, their height, where they're from, what grade they're in, like just an original old school. There were 4 schools that we played, don't even do that anymore. Because, like, are you going to put their grade? What grade are they? It's just like our team. What grade is Dre? I don't know. What grade is Haas? I don't know. What about H? Not sure. Like, what about Henry? I don't know. What about Boots? Not sure. And so, like, that decision, regardless of your opinion of that decision is going to go on for 4 more years. And what they weren't thinking, like most decisions, the unintended consequence is how it's impacting recruiting in the 22 class, the 23 class, the 24 class, because they don't have to make the decision until the very end of their, what would have been normal eligibility, right? But I would say that Q, we know that that was his last regular season home game. He has benefited as much or more than everybody that was in that position.
Anything else?
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
Coach, obviously you talked about 5 out of 6 games. Are you a team next week that SEC opponents should fear and not want to run into? I know you guys start on Thursday.
No, I don't think so. I just think it's such a thin line. I mean, it sounds right, and then technically I guess it's true. We finished in 5th place, but so did a bunch of other teams, right? I just think the value of a possession is so monumental, and we have played really well the last 3 weeks. We did not play well at Vanderbilt. We had 20 turnovers. Q had 4 offensive fouls out of his 7 turnovers. But we've played really well, and we've completely changed what we do offensively over the last month. Our personnel has changed. How we utilize our personnel has changed. I do think we're in a good groove. We'll be off tomorrow, which is needed. We're only going to do shooting with Buzz on Monday. That's it. That will be enough. and then we'll get to work on Tuesday. For our guys to have 50 hours off, other than the shooting workout with me, and then not play until Thursday, just that, I think will help us hopefully continue to play with the energy we played. It's been our guys are tired, not physically. Our guys are tired mentally. Our guys are tired emotionally because they know, because we tell them and we're transparent with them, what's been at stake over the last 3 weeks. And now it's a new season, and we'd like to play as long as we can and see if it turns into something more than Tampa.